Yesterday, we spent the morning exploring parts of Capitol Reef before making the 2.5 hour drive across to ARCHES National Park, where we immediately headed to the visitor centre in hopes of being able to secure permits to hike the fiery furnace. Having missed out on the ranger-guided trip, we were issued with permits to explore it on our own. The caveat being, the hike is like a maze full of dead ends with very few way markers letting us know which way to go. As if that wasn't enough, the trail also requires plenty of scrambling too. To squeeze as much as possible into our trip, as well as conquering the fiery furnace, today we plan to also wander up to the iconic Delicate Arch.
Good morning and welcome to a very beautiful ARCHES National Park. We were planning yesterday on just going straight to the fiery furnace because we have got permits for today and today only, so it means that we definitely need to be doing that this morning. However, our Airbnb guide had said don't go to Delicate Arch last night for sunset because there's going to be loads and loads of people, and he highly recommended that we come here this morning and get out before the heat of the day. It is not even 7 o'clock in the morning yet, it is 6:40 and we already have loads of cars here in the parking lot for the trailhead of Delicate Arch Trail, but it is quite nice and crisp this morning, definitely colder than what it was last night at the windows. So yeah, I'm quite pleased that we're doing a hike this early on in the morning. As you can probably see, we've made it up to Delicate Arch this early on in the morning whilst the weather's really quite cool. We've managed to make it up in about 35 minutes. When we went and spoke to the park ranger yesterday at the Visitors Information Centre, they said to get up here and back to the car park would take some time between about 2 to 3 hours. So perhaps in the heat of the day it might need to take that long. It was about an hour and a half to get, sorry, not an hour and a half, it was about 1.5 miles to get up here. But yes, a gradual incline pretty much all of the way, but because it wasn't that far we weren't needing to stop for rests. We just blasted up here in one go. So yeah, 35 minutes this early on in the morning. Okay, so we have hiked up to the Delicate Arch, but we are not going to hang around for too long because we've got permits to go do fiery furnace and we want to get down there sooner rather than later, just in case we do manage to get lost and find it difficult to find our way out. It's taken us about 25 to 30 minutes to hike back down from Delicate Arch to the parking lot. We have consumed quite a bit of our water, so we're going to drive up to the very top. I think it's to Devil's Gardens trailhead because apparently they do have running water up there, so we can get our water bladders filled up, and then after that we will be coming back on ourselves to make a start on the fiery furnace. And so the fiery furnace hike begins. We're only just coming down into it right now, but already there's been so many different obstacles. I think I might need to start putting this camera away because I think I'm going to need both hands to help me scramble up and down rocks, but we'll see how we go. Might get it out a little bit later if it feels a bit safer to do so. One of the things I absolutely love about using Airbnb, and instead of renting our own entire space, we just rent a room in someone else's house, is that you're actually staying with a local who knows the local area. And our Airbnb host Sam, he's very kindly given us this rough guide map of this fiery furnace. It's something that the park rangers were not able to give us at the Visitors Information Centre. It's something that he's developed over the time that he's here, and he was saying there's a few arrows in this canyon letting us know when we're supposed to turn left or right when it's not necessarily obvious that the trail goes that way. They're very few and far between, but there was one where we could see it going up this tiny little slot canyon, but we were told no, keep on going and then turn left. We didn't know what we were going to get when we got here, but we've managed to come across this secluded arch. We can hear families coming down, but no one's continuing on down into the canyon to get to this point here. So we've completely got it all to ourselves. And if we weren't staying with a local, I don't know really if a hotel concierge or a motel receptionist would necessarily have this knowledge and be sharing it with us. A huge advantage to staying with local people in their homes using Airbnb. That we saw that was telling us to go off to the left was quite a while back, but again the map that our Airbnb host had given us said no, ignore this one, keep on going into the canyon. And we were walking for quite a bit and I was thinking, are we sure it's definitely this way? And then suddenly we've just come out into this area here. I don't know if you can see up behind me, you've got something called Devil's Skull. I can definitely see where it gets the name from, but it's just absolutely stunning. I mean, I know Delicate Arch this morning was brilliant and it's probably one of the most photographed arches in the world, but the amount of crowds that were there just kind of took away a little bit from how special it was. Whereas we're in here and yeah, we've come across a couple of families, but I think a lot of them are actually following the main trail, and even still the odd family that we do come across, we then part ways really quickly and we just feel like we have this whole space again to ourselves. I honestly would say, hand on heart, if you come to Arches National Park, this is the hike to do. Go to the visitor centre, get a permit and just get in here and explore it, because this is amazing. Sure that the trail goes this way, but I'm really not too sure if I'm actually going to be able to fit through it. Let's see. I'm not convinced it is this way. Okay, so it turns out that the direction that we were trying to go in was right. It's just that we were supposed to have scrambled up onto this rock that we're scrambling up on at the moment, and we were attempting to try and pass through that little canyon there. So we are going in the right direction because we found another arrow, but it was way up on this rock. Onwards and upwards. to a point now in the fiery furnace where we are feeling a little bit lost. We know just back further down there was an arrow, so we've not come too far off, of course, but we tried to follow the arrow and we got a little bit lost, and we've got to this point and we're just trying to use our sort of powers of deduction. The wash sand that's behind us doesn't have that many footprints in it. It says to me there's only been 1 or 2 other people who've managed to make it up this far, and they've realised no, this isn't part of the trail. I think if it was the trail there'd be a lot more footprints in the wash sand, so I think it's time to perhaps go back on ourselves, and we will maybe make our way back to where that arrow was and try following that arrow for a second time. Another thing that's probably worth my while mentioning is this one kid earlier said to us, oh, it's a dead end up here. And I thought, I don't really know you. I have no relationship with this child. Do I trust them? We ignored the child and we kept on going, and it was most definitely not a dead end. So yeah, I'd say if you come here, don't necessarily listen to small children, because they will probably lie to you. We're still getting lost. There is absolutely no way that I am going down there. It's like a crevice that I can't even see the bottom of, so I think we're gonna double back, go back on ourselves and try and find another route. Once again we've come to yet another dead end. Something tells me that the ranger who we have seen down here in the canyon with, I don't know, kids of about maybe age 10, there's no way that they would have them cross those boulders back there. So we are once again turning around and trying to find another route out. Success! We've managed to find our way out of that little bit of a maze. We've come around a huge rock and we've managed to spot one of just a few of the arrows that do help us wayfind within here. We think, predicting, we might be maybe about halfway through this hike at the moment, and it's so much fun. Oh, I'm just having to watch my step and jump. And it's just having to constantly jump over things and straddle over things and get down on your butt and slide down things, and it's just so incredibly adventurous. This is what we have got up next. On the other side of that crevice, and it's still lots more scrambling and climbing and just trying to get up over things, but I think this time we are actually on the right track. Okay, so we've ended up in this canyon and we ended up going pretty much as far as the eye can see behind me there. There were loads and loads of other parties. This one family who we ended up talking to said that there's probably about 7 parties, all quite lost. And we've all just tried to retrace our steps back to the last arrow that we saw. And someone, I'm not entirely sure who it was now, has managed to find an arrow that is showing that we need to be going this way. Now, when we had the ranger talk yesterday before we were allowed to be given our permits, it did specify that we weren't supposed to meet up with other parties hiking in the fiery furnace, but I just think that we couldn't help that. We all just got completely lost, but we've just tried to sort of hold back, let them go on ahead so that we're following the rules again, and fingers crossed that's the last time that we get lost, but hey, we'll see. We have once again ignored the arrow that was sending us back to the parking lot, and we have followed the instructions that our Airbnb host has given us just to come a little bit further up this canyon rather than doubling back to the parking lot. And we have managed to come across, if I just turn the camera around, this beautiful arch here. Absolutely stunning, just hidden in amongst these cliffs, I guess. Behind me is the fiery furnace that we have spent most of the late morning hiking through. It has to be hands down one of my favourite ever hikes. I think contrary to the name of fiery furnace, it's not actually hot in there. It's definitely warm because we're in the desert in August, but apparently the name actually comes from the really warm red glow that it gives in the afternoon as the sun starts to set. I think some of my favourite things of being in there were just getting lost, having a bit of a laugh trying to get over things that seemed almost impassable, trying to go through tiny little canyons and then realising that we'd gone completely the wrong way. Least favourite part about the hike definitely has to be when a mosquito landed on my forehead, and Andy has told me that it definitely had been sucking some blood, so I think for the rest of this trip I'm going to have a really big red bulge of a mosquito bite on my forehead, so that definitely has to be the downside. But other than that, it's been an absolutely fantastic hike. I would highly recommend that if you are adventurous, you like the idea of getting a little bit lost and you don't mind doing some scrambling whilst hiking, if you come to Arches, for sure go to the visitor centre, get a permit and come and hike it.